really just about anything you'd like, and we can go ahead and build software distribution packages for that. So let's just take a look at this Adobe X MSI file that I have. Preferably you can use HTTP, but you could also use UNC if you like. So we'll select the MSI that we want. We select the install uninstall options. So this is relatively nice. Instead of having to remember which commands you need to type in there, you can just go ahead and select what you like and it changes those commands, and you can add additional commands in there as well. You can select additional files. Some MSI files need to have additional files to go along with them, so that you could select that folder from that list and you could tell it to auto detect, and if there was any additional files they would be moved over here to the right hand side, or if you'd like you can go ahead and just move them over yourself manually. Dependent packages, if you wanted to send this along but you needed to have something else installed before this was installed, you could go ahead and do dependent packages. You can do prerequisites. I talked about queries, so we could go ahead and do this from queries. We could select one of our queries here, and then when the software distribution ran, it would resolve that query and send that information to that machine. So that's how we get the software configured, and this will install the software the same way every time on the machines. Next thing we want to do is get a delivery method. So with the delivery method, we have 4 different methods. A push, which is just like it sounds, it pushes the software to the machines. When it's done, it's done. We have a policy that we looked at in the agent configuration that the machines check in at a specific time, and if there's any jobs scheduled for them, they'll get the job. We have the policy supported push, which puts both of those together, where the machine may be a laptop and Bobby's out on a call with the client. When he comes back in at the appointed time, it'll go ahead and install that software to his machine. So let's take a look at some of the ones we have here. I've got this Adobe Reader one that I created. So we'll give it a name, and we'll give it a delivery method, a description as well. We can select how we want to use the network. We can use LANDesk's patented technology, targeted multicast. So what multicast does is it organizes all of the devices that we selected for the distribution, these devices here, by subnet. It'll then select a representative on that subnet, and then in turn push the software down to that representative. Then that representative will go ahead and deploy the software to the rest of the devices on that subnet. It's a great tool for saving bandwidth. It's a great tool if you've got a large deployment. It's very handy. We can also go ahead and tell it to run from source. So maybe you created administrative install on a file share someplace and you want to deploy the software. You can certainly do that, or in this case we can say use download from source to deploy the files. We can also select the bandwidth that we want to use on the WAN and the LAN. So maybe this is a remote office across town and the WAN is kind of slow to there, so we can say, okay, use a minimum amount so that we don't disturb anybody else that's working. Once the package gets to the location, we can then go ahead and use the pure download, or in this case if we're using targeted multicast, the representative will use this available bandwidth and deploy it at a much faster rate. We can tell it if we want it to reboot or not. We can also go ahead and give the end user some indication of what's going on. Most of the time we'll want to do a software distribution in the evening when there's nobody around, so we just go ahead and say hide all feedback and run this package immediately. But maybe we're running this package in the daytime and we want to allow the end user some flexibility to manage it so that all of a sudden their Excel spreadsheet that they've been working on for an hour just disappears because the machine reboots. So we can give them some prompts. We can let them defer it for as many times as we want. We can say, well, if there's no activity on the machine, go ahead and run the package. We can also give them a custom message. We could use an HTML file, or we could put something in here about the importance of this. Please go get coffee and a donut and come back in a few minutes. So we've got our distribution package created. We've got a delivery method created. So now we need to go ahead and put these two together. So we select Schedule Tasks, and we create a new task. You can give this any name that you like. And the nice thing about LANDesk is it puts your date and time in there. So if you're doing a lot of distributions, it's easy to come back and say, well, the one that at 11:29 didn't work right, or something like that. So it makes it handy. So we can go ahead and select our packages. We can select from My Packages, which is my own personal folder, or we can select the public packages, which has been put out there for everyone to use. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and select the Adobe Reader X for My Packages, and that puts that down here for us. We can select a delivery method. There's a lot of different delivery methods. LANDesk has some built-in delivery methods, but in this case, I'm going to select push, and I could go ahead and select anything that I like. I've created one for Treasure Island, I've created one for Firefox, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and select the Adobe Reader one that I created. Now at this point, I can't add any target devices in here, or I can't schedule this. So I just hit the Save button. And now my job is here. And if I want to, I can go up and I can grab a query, any one of these queries, drop it down into here, and then when I start it, it will resolve the query and go ahead and send the software out to the machine. Or I can just do a one-on-one, where I can just drag it down to the machine, down to that. Now I can right click and I can say Start Now, or if I wanted to, I could go to Properties and I could go ahead and schedule this to go at a later time. Maybe I wanted this to go tonight, say at 11:31. I could just go ahead and change that to PM, and that would go ahead and schedule that. So you can schedule it to run when your people aren't in the office. Makes it easier for them. Let me just turn this, we'll leave it unscheduled, so that's good.